The UFC machine turns prospects into stars, stars into champions. But sometimes it breaks fighters before they ever reach their peak. No story shows that better than Rory MacDonald, a prodigy who gave everything to the sport, only to have the sport take everything from him. They called him the next GSP, a technical killer who crushed veterans before he could legally even rent a car. Coaches said he was the most naturally gifted fighter they had ever seen. Dana White said he was the future of the welterweight division. But then, the war started, and each war took a piece of Rory with it. The fighter who walked into the UFC a fresh-faced prodigy left it as something else. Today we're telling the story the UFC doesn't like to tell. This is the story of Rory MacDonald, the man who should have been champion, but instead became living proof of what this sport can do to its best. Kelowna, British Columbia. Not exactly the fight capital of the world, but it is where Rory MacDonald grew up. A quiet kid, kept to himself, and like way too many kids, he got bullied. One day, after getting roughed up, he made a decision. Never again. He found martial arts. It wasn't a hobby, it was survival. He trained like his life depended on it. By 14, he was taking MMA more seriously than most adults ever would. By 16, he was fighting professionally. And not just fighting, but winning. First 7 fights, all stoppages, mostly brutal, some downright scary. His first real mentor, David Lee, said it best. There was something different about Rory from day one. Not in a loud way, not cocky, quiet, calculated, cold. Even as a teenager, people in Canadian MMA started whispering, "Hey, this kid might be the future." But they were wrong. He wasn't the future of Canadian MMA, he was the future of MMA, period. By 18, Rory wasn't just winning. He was taking titles. King of the Cage champion before he could legally drink in the US. The scary part, it wasn't just raw athleticism. It was the mind, the way that he moved, the way he controlled distance, the way he thought 2 steps ahead. You could see shades of GSP, the discipline, the intelligence, but there was something else, a mean streak. Rory didn't just beat you, he broke you. Trainers, teammates, even opponents, they all said the same thing. You never knew what he was thinking, but you knew he was dangerous. By 21, the UFC came calling. He signed and became one of the youngest fighters on the roster. People inside the UFC were buzzing. This was one of their biggest investments into the future. Rory's debut was everything they had hoped for. He crushed Mike Gaiman, controlled every second, finished it clean. Then came Carlos Condit. At first, Rory made it look easy. Sharp jabs, takedowns at will, total domination through 2 rounds. But MMA is cruel. One mistake, one bad round, and Condit made him pay. Late TKO loss. Gut-wrenching. But something strange happened. Dana White didn't seem mad. Reporters didn't call him a bust. If anything, they respected Rory more after the loss. He didn't get exposed, he got baptized. And he didn't run from it, he embraced it. He moved to Montreal, started training full-time at TriStar with George St. Pierre, the best in the world at the time. Firas Zahabi took one look at him and said, "If he stays focused, he can be the best we've ever seen." Big words, but no one doubted it. Some fighters never recover from their first loss. Rory, he got better. Way better. At TriStar, they sharpened him like a blade. They took that raw violence and gave it a brain. His next big fight was against Nate Diaz. Nate talked trash, Nate fought hard. Rory threw him around like a child, literally suplexing him again and again. Pure domination. Then came Shea Mills. Another showcase. Fast, clinical, nasty. By now, it was clear. Rory wasn't just a good prospect, he was something special. And behind the scenes, he was getting even scarier. Striking was sharper, footwork was tighter, wrestling was ironclad. You could see GSP's fingerprints all over him. But Rory had a different gear. He enjoyed hurting people. Where GSP was cautious, Rory was violent. Analysts started asking, is he even better than GSP? Big talk. But after crushing BJ Penn and Jake Ellenberger, it didn't seem crazy anymore. He climbed the rankings, fight by fight, step by step. The title shot wasn't a matter of if, it was when. But there was one problem. One massive roadblock. His mentor, his friend, George St. Pierre. Rory refused to fight him. GSP refused to fight Rory. The division stayed jammed, and Rory stayed stuck. Dana White hated it, fans didn't get it, but to Rory, loyalty mattered, even if it cost him. And man did it, big time.
Well, let's get right to the bottom. Will you two guys ever fight each other? I'm going to ask you.
No. No, I'm not interested.
So he's not interested. Are you interested in fighting for the welterweight championship of the world against this guy here?
No thanks. That and a friendship, and George has done a lot for me as a young person. He welcomed me to Montreal. He was one of the only people to help me a lot when I first got here. So these things I don't forget.
We fight each other every day in the training. You know what I mean? He helped me get better as a martial artist, and I help him get better as a martial artist as well. Not interesting of fighting him.
2014. Rory's time was now. GSP had vacated the welterweight title. The throne was empty, the division was wide open. Rory was winning. Ruthless efficiency. Decision wins over Damian Maia and Tyron Woodley, two absolute killers. And he wasn't just winning, he was outclassing guys who later became legends. But there was a growing problem. The fans didn't love him. They respected him, but they didn't feel anything. Some called him robotic. Others said he was boring. Rory didn't trash talk, didn't play the game. He just showed up and destroyed you. Cold, silent, dead-eyed. In a sport fueled by drama, Rory was too real, too pure, too honest. The UFC didn't know how to market it. They wanted loudmouths. They wanted chaos. They wanted McGregors and Sonnen types. Rory just wanted to fight. And in the fight game, that can be a problem. Still, performance forced opportunity. He finally earned his shot at UFC Gold. It was all building to one night. July 11th, 2015, UFC 189. Rory MacDonald versus Robbie Lawler. 5 rounds for the welterweight championship. Now this wasn't just another title fight. This was the kind of fight that could change your life forever. 2 men, no gimmicks, no trash talk. Just raw skill and heart about to collide. For Rory, it was everything he had worked toward since he was a teenager. The moment that everything was supposed to click. And in a twisted way, it did. But not the way that anyone wanted. The fight started like a chess match. Measured, calculated. But by round 2, it became a war. Not a regular war, but an all-time bloodbath. Rory landed brutal head kicks, rocked Robbie multiple times, had him staggering, leaking blood, on the verge of a finish. One more clean shot and Rory would have been champion, immortalized. But Robbie Lawler isn't built like normal people. He dug deep and came back swinging. And Rory, he kept standing, kept throwing, kept absorbing punishment most humans couldn't survive. Round 3, round 4, both men were drenched in blood, faces barely recognizable. It wasn't technique anymore. It was pure willpower. Who could suffer more? Round 5 started. Rory's face was shattered. His nose was broken badly. One jab, just a simple jab landed, and Rory collapsed instantly. His body just quit. It wasn't a tap out. It wasn't a choice. His body gave up before his mind did. He tried to get up, but there was nothing left. Fight over. Dream over.
Rory was a motherfucker.
I remember watching him in his prime. I was young. I'm like, this fucking guy is great. You could tell Rory had it. His nose was smashed so bad. That last punch, I think it was probably like a straight left.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm done. Like, I just can't take any more pain at this point. Like, when your nose is broken, you get hit in it. It's not fun.
Well, his face was pale too. Like he had lost so much blood that his face was pale.
He was fucked up.
I mean, his face was just a mask of blood. And this
is like
this
so
is
iconic.
amazing. They're just staring at each other. Look how flat his nose is there. His face is destroyed. I mean, that is as close to death as I think we've ever seen anybody get inside the octagon.
Yeah.
Look at that. Look how pale he is.
Robbie Lawler retained. Rory MacDonald lay broken on the canvas.
Yeah, it was definitely a tough fight. It's definitely up there. I definitely don't want to have to do that every fight, dig deep and show the kind of heart I need to show. But it's all about going out there and finishing, guys. But yeah, Rory did a great job of pushing me. They put together a great game plan at TriStar. He was obviously in shape and he was very tactical. So that's why that fight was as good as it was. It was two high-level fighters who were well prepared to fight.
This wasn't just a loss. This wasn't just another fight. It changed Rory forever. To give you a perspective of how much this all changed Rory, here is him before the fight.
I feel very confident, I don't want to sound cocky or anything, but
Please, go ahead.
I feel like a killer, I have my killer instinct just like rushing through my thoughts all the time, and so I decided to go with this. I don't know why. It's just like, I feel like having a mohawk, I think it represents how I'm feeling right now.
And here is him after the fight.
The longest time I fought with a certain anger inside of me, so it was kind of like a release, it felt good to fight, to do damage, and like it made me feel better about myself in some kind of a way. My new relationship with Jesus Christ, I just don't feel that hurt in my heart or that pain that used to drive me. I have new life, so it's kind of weird to go into a fight and not go through the same emotions that I may have used to or I'm used to feeling.
After UFC 189, Rory MacDonald was never the same. Physically, sure, he healed, surgery fixed his nose, but mentally, something stayed broken. He admitted it later. That fight took a piece of my soul, and you could see it. Before Lawler, Rory had a certain cold fire. After Lawler, there was a hesitation, a doubt. He started second-guessing himself, started wondering, is it worth it? And it wasn't just the damage, it was the shift inside him. After UFC 189, Rory turned more seriously to his Christian faith. He spoke openly about struggling to hurt opponents. Said he didn't feel the same hunger to inflict damage. The violence that once fueled him now weighed heavy on his conscience. It made him hesitate in a sport where hesitation costs everything. And how could you blame him? He went through hell that night. And what did he get? Not a title, not a massive contract, not even mainstream fame. He got a shattered nose. He got brain trauma. He got forgotten. Because that is what happens in MMA. If you don't win, you're just another guy who almost did. But Rory fought on, a title eliminator against Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. On paper, it was a comeback. In reality, it was a funeral. Wonderboy didn't just beat Rory. He made him look confused, flat-footed, lost. There were flashes. The jab was still sharp, the takedown still slick, but the killer was gone. The old Rory, the cold prodigy, he didn't show up that night. And deep down, everyone knew Rory MacDonald's time in the UFC was ending. Not with a bang, but with a whimper. By 2016, Rory MacDonald had a choice. Stay in the UFC, keep fighting killers for modest pay, or cash out while he still could. Bellator came calling. A fat contract, title opportunities, a chance to be the guy. Rory said yes, quietly, without fanfare. In hindsight, it wasn't just about money, it was about survival. The UFC demanded too much of him and gave back too little. In Bellator, Rory could reset, heal, maybe even rebuild the legacy that had slipped through his fingers. And for a moment, it looked like he would. 2017, Rory debuts against Paul Daly. Vintage Rory, calculated, vicious, he dismantles Daly like a surgeon. Then, the title shot. Bellator welterweight champion Douglas Lima. It was another war, 5 rounds of savagery. But this time, Rory endured. Despite a grotesquely swollen leg, despite the punishment, he ground Lima down, took the belt. Finally, Rory MacDonald was a world champion. Not a prospect, not an almost, a real recognized champion. Validation at last. But the ghost never really left. Winning the belt didn't erase the doubts. It didn't erase what happened against Robbie Lawler. If anything, it amplified it. Rory began to sound different in interviews, less sure of himself, more reflective, more tired. Before the Grand Prix, Rory moved up to middleweight to challenge Gegard Mousasi. It was a bold move, but it backfired. Mousasi dominated him. Rory looked hesitant, almost frozen at times. It wasn't just a loss, it was another dent in his armor. Another whisper of doubt that grew louder.
With Rory, you know, what's sad too, and it's happened to me, it's happened to some other fighters, I'm sure. But Rory goes, I just didn't feel like fighting. Wasn't in the zone. Just didn't feel like fighting Gegard Mousasi that night. And knowing Gegard, you know, Mousasi, who he doesn't get enough recognition how good that he is. No, he's an absolute monster.
You got to think about all the guys that he's beaten. Oh, he's on like a 6 or 7 fight win streak, which includes Chris Weidman, Vitor Belfort, Talis Latis.
No, he's an absolute nightmare.
He's a monster.
Yeah. He's a monster. I'm surprised the UFC let him go. Now, when I say let him go, it just didn't match his contract, you know, because Bellator probably offered more, and they're like, we're good.
Then came the Grand Prix. Bellator's welterweight world Grand Prix, $1 million on the line. Pride, glory, legacy. First fight, John Fitch, an aging grinder, and Rory barely survived. The fight was ruled a draw, but that wasn't the story. The real story was what Rory said afterward, into the microphone, on live TV. I don't know if I have that killer instinct anymore. I don't know if I want to hurt people the way I used to.
I don't know, something is just, it's hard to sometimes pull the trigger now, I guess. I don't have that killer inside. I don't know, it's really hard to explain, but I don't know if I have that same drive to hurt people anymore.
The word stunned everyone. The fans, the media, even his coaches. Imagine hearing a prize fighter question if they even want to fight before the tournament is over. Something fundamental had cracked inside Rory MacDonald. Still, he pressed on. He faced Neiman Gracie in the semifinals, won a gritty decision. Then the finals, the rematch with Douglas Lima. No excuses, both men at their peaks. But this wasn't the Rory who had conquered Lima the first time. This was a Rory haunted by invisible demons. Half in, half out. Lima punished him. Leg kicks, body shots, power everywhere. Rory stayed tough, stayed standing. But there is a difference between surviving and winning. And Rory wasn't winning anymore. Unanimous decision. Lima victorious, Rory dethroned. Again, not just a loss, another piece of his soul chipped away. After Bellator, Rory wasn't finished. He signed with the PFL, a new league, a fresh start, another $1 million prize to chase. But the magic was gone. The old Rory, the cold technician, the savage prodigy, was a ghost. Losses piled up. Uninspired performances, tentative movement, flat takedowns, slower reactions. In his PFL debut, he edged out against Curtis Millender with a first-round submission, a flash of hope. But then came a decision loss to Gleison Tebow, a fight that many thought Rory had won. He bounced back against Brett Cooper, but the cracks were clear. Then he faced Ray Cooper III, a brutal first-round TKO loss, a career-low moment. Finally, in August 2022, he fought Delano Taylor. Rory looked hesitant, uncertain, a shell. He folded under pressure. He still had moments, flashes, glimpses of who he used to be, but fighting isn't just the skill, it's spirit. And Rory's spirit had been taxed beyond repair. August 2022. After a loss to Delano Taylor, a fight where Rory just folded, he made it official. He retired. No farewell tour, no screaming headlines, just a quiet Instagram post. It's time to move on to the next chapter of my life. And just like that, one of MMA's most enigmatic, most tragic talents walked away. No gold watch, no legendary parade, just silence. The same way he fought, the same way he lived, the same way he broke. Today, Rory MacDonald lives in British Columbia. He spends time with his family, stays close to his faith, and occasionally trains young fighters. Away from the spotlight, he is building a life beyond the cage. Rory MacDonald was never meant to be a normal fighter. From the start, he was different, colder, sharper, an architect of violence. But fighting isn't just about physicality. It's about what you're willing to give and what you're willing to lose. Rory gave everything, his body, his mind, his identity. And in the end, it broke him. Not in the way that fans usually think, not a dramatic knockout, not a catastrophic injury, but something slower, more haunting, a gradual bleeding out of the will to fight, to hurt, to survive in a world that demands both. In a sport obsessed with toughness, Rory showed us what it looks like when toughness goes too far. When your armor becomes your prison. When your greatest strength becomes your downfall. Today, Rory MacDonald lives quietly. No fanfare, no desperate comeback attempts, just a man trying to heal from the life that he chose. Or maybe the life that chose him. Rory MacDonald didn't lose, he endured. And sometimes enduring is the most heroic thing of all.